Above Average Production presents Journey Through Japan, Episode 1, Leisure Life. Starring Max Warburg as narrator, Larson Caples as director and screenwriter, and Mitchell Valenzano as editor. Welcome to Japan, a society rich in cultural tradition for thousands of years. Over those thousands of years, the Japanese people have had to develop ways to entertain and relax themselves. These leisure activities have endured the test of time and are still practiced to this day. How could these traditions have lasted this long? Well, we'll find out in our journey through ancient Japanese leisure. Our first stop on this grand journey is in this beautiful garden. The idea of using and making gardens like this originated in the Asuka period, when Japanese merchants would go to China and witness the beauty of Chinese gardens, then decided to bring that idea back home. The use of these gardens in Japan was further supported by the major religion in Japan at the time, Shintoism, which is centered around nature. Shintoism isn't the only religion that influenced the spread of these gardens. Zen Buddhism also plays a large influence. Japanese gardens have many aesthetic principles, such as miniaturization, where small parts of the garden represent their larger equivalents, concealment, where the garden is hidden from the outer world, and asymmetry, where the garden isn't laid out on straight axes. Unlike the gardens of the Western world, Japanese gardens are works of art that people to this day use for relaxation because of the unceasing importance of nature in Japanese culture. Our next stop is in this Japanese tea house. This building is used for a tradition that has persisted through Japanese history, the Way of Tea. The Way of Tea came from the influence of Zen Buddhism in Japan. Tea was originally used as a medicinal practice, but it quickly grew into a recreational activity with a lot of spiritual importance. Some of the spiritual elements of drinking tea are subdued taste, humility, naturalism, asymmetry, and restraint. The depth of tea drinking in Japan is also increased by the two types of tea, thick and thin. These two extra elements made tea drinking similar to going to a restaurant, where several different courses are served, comprised of various different types of food, and in this case, tea. The Way of Tea was passed down from generation to generation as an extremely important spiritual and leisure activity for thousands of years, allowing it to persist to this day. Our next stop is one of the most used leisure activities in Japan to this day: games. Games are played by all ages in Japan, with many different types. These can vary from board games like Go and Renju, to children's games like hopscotch to jump rope. Speaking of children's games, Japan has also invented many classical games that are played all over the world today. For example, Japan invented rock, paper, scissors, and hide and seek. Not all games were designed for children, though. Some games were used as representations and training for war. These games are called Japanese Mahjong, a tile game, and Goa, a board game. Japan has a rich culture in games, with the invention of over 50 unique games in Japan's early years. The rich game culture did have its limitations in terms of who was allowed to play these games. Games were very patriarchal, with the playing of many games by women was frowned upon, and there was a game created specifically for women, Rango. These traditional games have lasted for thousands of years and have become popular enough to be used by Western countries, preserving the Japanese game legacy. And our final stop is this calligraphy set. Calligraphy is an artistic writing utilized by many Japanese scholars, monks, and poets. The most esteemed of these writers was Wang Xingshi, who was originally Chinese, but then he moved to Japan, where he contributed to the invention of hiragana and katakana, the Japanese unique syllabaries. In this calligraphy set, there are 4 different tools: a brush, an ink stick, mulberry paper, and an inkstone. Japanese calligraphy also was influenced by and influenced Zen thought. For any particular piece of paper, the calligraphy has but one chance to create with the brush. The brushstrokes cannot be corrected, and even a lack of confidence shows up in the work. The calligrapher must concentrate and be fluid in execution. This created a very rich culture in calligraphy, which is used to relax and enlighten the self. Calligraphy is still taught today in many parts of Japan.